Robin Williams walked into the Juilliard audition room in 1973 looking like he'd gotten lost on his way to a circus. Wild hair, thrift store clothes, community college transcript from California. 40 other students sat watching. Yale graduates, Princeton theater majors, Ivy League elites who'd been training for this moment their entire lives. When they saw Robin, they laughed, literally laughed out loud. This clown thought he belonged at Juilliard, the most prestigious acting conservatory in America. John Houseman, the legendary director who'd worked with Orson Welles, asked Robin to perform a classical monologue. Shakespeare, Chekhov, anything from the canon. Robin nodded, walked to center stage, and did something so unexpected that the laughter stopped mid-breath. The room went completely silent, and what happened in those next 4 minutes didn't just earn Robin one of 2 spots in Houseman's exclusive advanced program, it revealed a kind of genius that American theater had never seen before. Spring 1973, the Juilliard School, Lincoln Center, New York City, the most prestigious performing arts conservatory in America. Getting into Juilliard's drama division was nearly impossible. Getting into John Houseman's advanced program was something else entirely. Houseman was a legend. He'd produced Citizen Kane with Orson Welles. He'd founded the Mercury Theater. He'd worked with every great American actor of the 20th century, and his advanced program at Juilliard was designed for exactly one thing: to create the next generation of serious classical actors. Not movie stars, not comedians. Serious theater artists who could perform Shakespeare, Chekhov, Ibsen, and Molière with technical perfection. The audition process was brutal. 2,000 students applied that year, 2,000 of the most talented young actors in America, all competing for maybe 20 spots in the regular drama division. But Houseman's advanced program? That year, Houseman decided he would accept exactly 2 students, just 2, out of 2,000 applicants. The pressure in that audition room was suffocating. The students waiting to audition were exactly what you'd expect at Juilliard. Ivy League graduates with theater degrees, conservatory-trained performers who'd been studying classical techniques since childhood, students who could recite Shakespeare's sonnets in perfect iambic pentameter, students who'd performed at regional theaters, won awards, earned scholarships. They sat in that waiting room with their leather-bound Shakespeare collections running through their monologues in whispered voices, projecting confidence and breeding and preparation. And then there was Robin Williams, 21 years old, sitting in the corner, wearing clothes that looked like they came from a Goodwill bin. His hair was wild, uncombed, sticking out in every direction. He had a manila folder that contained his transcript from College of Marin, a community college in California. No, prestigious university, no classical training, no awards, just 2 years of theater classes at a school most people had never heard of. The other students looked at him and didn't even try to hide their amusement. Who was this guy? How did he even get an audition? One student, a Yale graduate named Bradford, leaned over to his friend and whispered just loud enough for others to hear, "Is there a comedy audition happening somewhere? I think this guy got lost." A few people laughed. Robin heard it. He always heard it. He'd been hearing some version of that his entire life. But here's what those students didn't know about Robin Williams. He'd spent his entire childhood alone in a mansion in Michigan, locked in an attic with thousands of toy soldiers. His father was a Ford executive, always traveling. His mother was a socialite, always busy. And Robin, their only child, learned to survive his loneliness by creating voices. He'd give each toy soldier a different personality, a different accent, a different story. He'd have conversations between dozens of characters, switching voices instantly, creating entire worlds inside his head. It wasn't training. It was survival. It was the only way a desperately lonely kid could handle the silence. By the time he got to high school in California, Robin had discovered that making people laugh was the only way to be seen, to matter. He joined the theater program not because he loved classical acting, he'd barely read Shakespeare, but because it was the only place where his weird energy, his constant need to do voices and characters was even remotely acceptable. He was good, really good, but in a way that didn't fit traditional theater. He improvised, he broke character, he made the audience laugh during serious scenes. His teachers didn't know what to do with him. After high school, Robin enrolled at Claremont Men's College to study political science because that's what his father wanted. He lasted 1 year before he couldn't take it anymore. He transferred to College of Marin and joined their theater program. And for the first time in his life, someone told him, "You should audition for Juilliard." Robin thought it was a joke. Kids like him didn't go to Juilliard, but his teacher insisted, pushed him, helped him prepare an audition, and somehow, impossibly, Robin got called in. Now here he was, sitting in this waiting room full of America's theatrical elite, feeling like a fraud, like everyone could see he didn't belong, like the laughter was deserved. The auditions began. One by one, students were called into the main studio. John Houseman sat at a table in the center of the room with 2 other faculty members. Behind them, in tiered seating, sat about 40 students who'd already auditioned and were waiting to hear results. This was Houseman's method. He wanted auditioners to perform in front of their competition, to feel the pressure, to prove they could handle an audience. Each student performed their classical monologue. A young woman from Yale did Lady Macbeth. Flawless diction, perfect breath control, technical mastery. The room applauded politely. A Princeton graduate did Hamlet's to be or not to be soliloquy. Beautiful. Controlled. Exactly what classical theater was supposed to sound like. More polite applause. Then they called Robin Williams. Robin stood up, grabbed his folder, and walked into the studio. The 40 students sitting in the tiered seats looked at him, and several people literally laughed. Out loud. They couldn't help it. He looked ridiculous. His clothes didn't fit right. His hair was insane. His energy was all wrong. Too much, too manic, too everything. This was going to be a disaster. Some students exchanged glances. This would at least be entertaining. John Houseman looked up from his notes. He was 70 years old, wearing his trademark 3-piece suit, his face stern and unreadable. He'd seen thousands of auditions in his life. He could tell in the first 10 seconds if someone had real talent or was wasting his time. He looked at Robin Williams and his expression didn't change. No smile, no encouragement, just cold evaluation. "Name," Houseman said. "Robin Williams, sir." "Where are you coming from, Mr. Williams?" "College of Marin, in California." Someone in the tiered seats snickered. Houseman's eyes flicked up to silence them, then back to Robin. "And you're here to audition for the advanced program?" "Yes, sir." Houseman made a note. "What will you be performing for us today?" "A classical monologue, sir, from Shakespeare." "Which play?" Robin paused. This was the moment. He could do it the normal way, the safe way, do Hamlet or Romeo or one of the famous monologues everyone knew, but something in Robin, that survival instinct that had kept him alive in that lonely mansion attic, told him, safe won't work here. Safe won't make them see you. You have to show them something they've never seen before. "I'm going to do a piece from Henry IV, Part 1, sir. Falstaff's monologue about honor." Houseman raised an eyebrow. Falstaff, the comic relief character, not the typical choice for a serious classical audition. "Proceed." Robin walked to center stage. The studio was dead silent. 40 students waited to laugh. Houseman waited to judge. Robin took a breath, and then he became someone else. He didn't just recite the monologue, he inhabited Falstaff completely. His voice dropped an octave, became gravelly, world-weary, cynical. His body changed. Suddenly he wasn't a skinny 21-year-old, he was a fat, aging knight who'd seen too many battles and lost too many friends. He moved across the stage like a drunk philosopher, gesturing wildly, and delivered Falstaff's famous words. "What is honor? A word. What is in that word honor? Air. A trim reckoning. Who hath it? He that died a Wednesday, doth he feel it? No. Doth he hear it? No. 'Tis insensible then, yea to the dead, but will it not live? With the living? No. Why? Detraction will not suffer it, therefore I'll none of it. Honor is a mere scutcheon. But here's what made the room go silent. Robin didn't just perform it as written. Halfway through he started improvising. He added beats, pauses, reactions, as if Falstaff was having this argument with invisible people around him. He did voices, responding to himself as different characters, creating an entire scene out of a solo monologue. He made Falstaff argue with a pompous nobleman, with a young soldier, with death himself. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. It was still Shakespeare. But it was alive in a way nobody in that room had ever seen Shakespeare be alive. The laughter in the tiered seats stopped mid-breath. Students who'd been smirking sat forward. Houseman's expression changed from cold evaluation to something else. Confusion, maybe fascination. He leaned forward in his chair. Robin continued, building to the monologue's climax, and then, in a choice that should have been ridiculous but somehow wasn't, he ended it by looking directly at Houseman and delivering the final line in his own voice, as Robin, as if asking the question for real. What is honor? Silence. Complete, total silence. 4 minutes of performance and the room had forgotten to breathe. Robin stood there, chest heaving, not sure if he'd just given the performance of his life or committed career suicide. Houseman stared at him for what felt like an eternity. 30 seconds of absolute silence. Then he stood up, walked around the table, approached Robin on stage, looked him up and down, and said 5 words that nobody in that room had ever heard John Houseman say to an auditioner. I don't know what you are. Robin blinked. Sir? Houseman circled him slowly like a scientist examining a new species. You're not a classical actor. You don't have the training. You don't follow the rules. You improvised Shakespeare. Do you know how many decades I've been teaching Shakespeare? Nobody improvises Shakespeare in my auditions. Robin's heart sank. He'd blown it. I'm sorry, sir. I just thought... Don't apologize. Houseman cut him off. I said I don't know what you are. That's not a criticism. That's a fact. I've been teaching theater for 40 years, and I've never seen what you just did. You took one of the most performed monologues in the canon and made me see it for the first time. Do you understand what that means? Robin shook his head. He genuinely didn't know if he was being praised or dismissed. Houseman turned to the tiered seats where the other students sat in stunned silence. Did anyone else see what just happened here? This man just demonstrated something you've all been too trained to remember. Theater isn't about perfection, it's about truth. What Mr. Williams just did was more truthful than every technically perfect audition I've heard today. He turned back to Robin. You're in. Advanced program. You start in September. The room exploded, not with applause, with shock, gasps, whispers. Bradford, the Yale graduate who'd made the snide comment earlier, stood up. Mr. Houseman, with all due respect, he improvised. He broke from the text. That's not classical technique. Sit down, Mr. Bradford. Houseman's voice was ice. You're dismissed from consideration. If you can't recognize genius when you see it, you don't belong in my program. Bradford went pale and sat down. Nobody else said a word. Houseman looked at Robin one more time. I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Williams. I don't know how to teach you. You're uncontrollable. You're chaos. Everything about you violates every principle I've spent my life teaching. But you're also something I can't ignore. So here's what's going to happen. I'm accepting you into my program not to train you, but to unleash you, to point you in a direction and see what happens. Do you understand? I think so, sir. Good. Now get out of my audition room. You're making everyone else look bad. Robin left in a daze. He'd gotten in. Somehow, impossibly, he'd gotten into Juilliard. But here's the part that nobody talks about. Sitting in those tiered seats, watching Robin's entire audition, was another student who'd already performed earlier that day. Christopher Reeve, 6'4", Cornell graduate, technically perfect, classically handsome. Reeve had done a flawless Hamlet monologue. Houseman had nodded approvingly and told him, Very good. We'll let you know. Standard response. Reeve sat there watching Robin perform and thought, I just watched someone who's playing a completely different game. When Robin finished and Houseman offered him a spot on the spot, something Houseman never did, Reeve wasn't jealous. He was fascinated. He leaned over to the student next to him and whispered, I need to meet that guy. 3 weeks later, acceptance letters went out. 2 students were accepted into the advanced program that year. Robin Williams and Christopher Reeve, the chaotic community college transfer and the disciplined Ivy League scholar. Houseman's reasoning was simple. Williams will teach Reeve how to take risks. Reeve will teach Williams discipline. Together they might create something neither could do alone. He was right, but he had no idea how right. Over the next 2 years at Juilliard, Robin and Christopher became inseparable. They were assigned as scene partners. They became roommates. They balanced each other. When Robin couldn't afford lunch, which was often, Reeve would slide half his sandwich across the table without making a big deal about it. When Reeve got too stuck in his head, too obsessed with perfect technique, Robin would do a voice, break the tension, remind him that acting was supposed to be fun. Houseman watched them work together with a mixture of pride and bewilderment. In class, he'd give Robin notes like, "Try to stay within the script at least once," and Robin would nod seriously and then improvise anyway. He started calling Robin Little Fool Ferret Boy, not as an insult, but as a term of strange affection. He called Reeve Studley. The two nicknames captured everything about their dynamic. Years later, after Robin had become one of the most famous comedians in the world, a reporter asked John Houseman about teaching Robin Williams. Houseman, by then in his 80s, said this: "Robin Williams was the only student I ever had who I genuinely couldn't teach. Not because he wasn't talented, because he was beyond teaching. He already had something that can't be taught: absolute freedom. My job wasn't to train him, it was to give him permission to be exactly what he already was. Most actors spend their lives trying to learn how to transform into other people. Robin spent his life trying to figure out how to be himself. That's much harder." Robin kept in touch with Houseman until the director died in 1988. At the funeral, Robin gave a eulogy where he did his Houseman impression, that stern, authoritative voice, and had the entire memorial service laughing through their tears. It was perfect. It was what Houseman would have wanted, because that audition in 1973 hadn't just changed Robin's life. It had given him permission to trust that the weird, chaotic, uncontrollable thing inside him wasn't a flaw. It was the whole point. Today, Juilliard still tells the story of Robin Williams' audition. Drama students who feel like they don't fit, who think their energy is too much or too strange or too different, hear about the kid who walked in looking like a circus clown and silenced a room full of critics. The lesson isn't ignore the rules. The lesson is deeper. Know the rules well enough that you can break them with purpose. Robin Williams went on to change American comedy forever. His performances in Good Morning Vietnam, Dead Poets Society, Mrs. Doubtfire, Good Will Hunting, they all carried traces of that Juilliard training mixed with that uncontrollable chaos Houseman recognized. He became the bridge between classical acting and pure improvisation, between discipline and freedom, between the kid alone in the attic doing voices for toy soldiers and the artist on stage making millions laugh. And it all started with 4 minutes in an audition room where everyone laughed at him until they couldn't breathe from watching him. Sometimes the people who don't fit the mold aren't doing it wrong. They're building a new mold. Robin Williams didn't just get into Juilliard that day. He proved that genius doesn't wait for permission. It walks into the room and demands to be seen. If this story of taking risks, trusting yourself, and proving the doubters wrong moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear that being different isn't a weakness. It's the whole point. Have you ever been underestimated and proven everyone wrong? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about the moments that changed everything.